You know, I've never regretted making you my partner. I've never regretted being yours. I just feel right by your side. I feel home. I feel like we get each other, you know? You never judge me for my mistakes. I never hold you against yours. We just work. We just fit. I feel comfortable by your side all these years. It's been beautiful. It really is. And look, I'll say it. I love you. I love you, Great Sword. What? Oh yes, hello my fellow hunters, and welcome one and all to a man that's quite frankly too attached to a weapon in a video game. But attached I am, and I found myself horrified when I recently realized that I've never actually told you my all-time, across all of Monster Hunter history, favorite great swords. So I am going to fix that mistake right now. And no, one of them isn't this base iron one in Rise.
Why did you use me as the intro?
You know you've reached a certain point in your life where you're voicing sad, inanimate objects that aren't even real. So without further ado then, let me share with you my 5 best great swords in Monster Hunter, with 5 honorable mentions. So I guess technically it's like top 10, so I mean who cares? I just want to talk about some swords in your general direction. Beginning then with number 10, it is the great sword belonging to one of my top 5 consistent, forever has been their favorite monsters. It is Nightcloak Malfestio, and it is the Cloaked Blade. This is a little bit quirky. It's not something I would usually choose, and I imagine if it wasn't connected to Malfestio, I might look a little bit less favorably upon it, but I think the monster a weapon comes from is definitely both a valid and, well, very real factor in how you feel about it. And it certainly is silly. It matches the Jester Owl. The fact that it expands out just before the hit, like the wing unfolding before the strike, is very cool, and it just has this playfulness too that I've always found rather endearing. Coming up next then at 9 is, well, this is a classic. It's a big, meaty classic. Just like the monster that it comes from. A Cantor, a Cantor, a Cantor. This behemoth of a blade sporting the glowing lava core is, I mean, right? Like, it's very great swordy, it's meaty, it's powerful, and it really does look like it's gonna get the job done. If that gets brought down on you, well, there is no more you left, and it really does deserve respect for that. Even if it's not my favorite design ever, it still always brings me joy to see this great sword. Then after that, well, we go to the god of all monsters, or at least the old man form, in the Ancestor Sword, the Fatalis Ancestor Blade. Basically, the Fatalis Greatsword as we know and love, that got revived and looking amazing in Iceborne, but the white Fatalis version that just has this soft white tint to it that just glows. Sorry. And you can just kind of feel it. I love the aesthetic to it. I've always loved the Fatalis shape, but this is just resplendent is the only word I can use for it, and resplendent is definitely, I think, apt. I really, really enjoy this great sword, and I really hope that one day we do get White Fatalis back to see it reimagined in 5th gen onwards. And indeed, that's the thing with a lot of these great swords. Some of them are only in the older games, and actually, well, they might jump up massively in the rankings once they get their makeovers, because obviously the newer great swords have the advantage because they get to look immediately gorgeous. That said, though, our next and final honorable mention does indeed come in the form of another oldie but goodie, and the feud horn sword, but in this case the bloodbath variation, the Massacre Blade. This blade is fear itself, and this, to me, really starts to represent Greatsword. Greatsword is just straight to the point. It is grab big thing and hit big monster with it. And this is just, hey, I have grabbed the shattered horn of a bloodthirsty, terrifying deviant, stick a handle in its smithy, and I'm going to get to murdering in honor of Bloodbath and the trauma he went through.
I lost a fight when I was younger, left scarred with a burning hunger to impale the world, tear it the fuck asunder. It's what I yearn for, covered in guts and gore. I'm the deviant king, a soul twisted as my horn, a fury within to consume everything.
That Bloodbath, that wasn't cue for a little flashback rap there. I was just saying it's cool, okay? So, to get to the list proper then, well, in 5th place, we have, well, a sword that actually means a fair amount to me, because it's one of the first weapons I ever used in the first Monster Hunter game I played, which is to say Monster Hunter 1. See, Monster Hunter 1, you very much, well, have this big greatsword on the box art. You have the Rathalos, you have the Hunter, and it's a badass image. And no, it's not the greatsword being held there, but greatsword really is set up as the flagship weapon. As well it should be, because greatsword is the best weapon, and with it, you are glorious! And, well, one of the best greatswords in Monster Hunter 1 was indeed this beauty that I very, very much still think to this day actually does look really, really cool. Now, this greatsword's gone on a bit of a journey over the course of Monster Hunter. Right here with the red crimson blade, the spiky bone holding it in, it looks wonderful. But this, of course, would come to be the Rathian style of greatsword. The Dread Queen version of it in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate was really quite lovely. The colouring on it almost oil slicky in how it is, the greens to the purples, adding the bandaging around it hooked over the spikes. I like greatsword that really lay into the using a big part of a monster to attack, and this looks like this bone came from a monster somewhere, was sharpened, bit of metal bolted on, though I will admit that bit of metal does take away from it just a bit for me. I don't think it needs the extra big bolty spikes going around it, just the strap of metal would be enough, but that kind of gets a bit nitpicky, but then again, that's what we're here for. And even then, taking it all the way to Rise, just the nice Rathian greatsword, I can't deny, does look fantastic. The white bandaging contrasts the green blade, it looks meaty, it's vicious, and I sound trepidatious because I don't really like Rathian that much, but yeah, I can't deny this one is up here. After that then, it's time for our Lord and Saviour, Gog! This one is a weirder choice for me, because normally I don't like great swords that don't really look like they would make good swords. And a kind of blunt, almost chained, looks like a inscribed piece of tablet doesn't really fit. Well, that would work as a sword, but there's just something about it. Again, Gogmazios is in my top 5 monsters, so that likely helps. And if we look at it in this, as you're seeing, this glorious remake that was modded into Iceborne, absolutely a fantastic effort by Akinosuke. Well, you can start to see if Gogmazios was in the 5th gen, how his equipment would look. Now, the extra tar puddles are just added, but that is also a fantastic little idea and something I could totally see eventually happening. But yeah, the chains wrapping round like it's sealed, right? Along with the inscription upon it, I really just get the impression every time that if you were to read the text on this sword, you would break a spell and release a great evil. And I just love it so much. It's like,
Bound here, hallowed is evil Lord Dimalasso, and he will not be released.
You just kind of just feel it, but maybe that's just me having a weird interpretation. In any case, I think it's unique, I think it is beautiful, and I think it is a really, really cool greatsword. It takes the 4th spot. In 3rd place, well, you might see this top 3 coming if you at all know me. RageGamingVideos is next, and what can I say, except I obviously adore him. I adore RageGamingVideos, he's my #1 monster, he is perfect in every single way, and I will never ever ever hear a bad word about him. And his greatsword follows suit. A big hunk of what looks like just a bit of Bracky ripped off and given a handle, which again, that's the kind of aesthetic I really like, covered in his extra potent deep orange glowing slime. It's just one hell of a majestic beat stick, and if you're going to use a beat stick, you want it to be majestic. The only real issue with this greatsword is, I imagine if it was there in real life, the temptation to not attempt to lick the blade and find out what orange slime tastes like would be incredibly hard to resist. No, is that just me? Like a bit of slime and a little slime and you know what no? Okay, sorry. And I just really love it. It feels weighty, it's got that impact that you're looking for, and it is just a pleasure to hold, knowing where it came from. Coming up next then, again, one you might well see coming. Rocket-powered Great Sword! A weapon that was with me through what felt like all of Base World, and really went on quite the journey as, well, I really became a Monster Hunter channel as everyone grew, as the team started, Colin got involved. It kind of really represents that era where I got to know so many of you guys that are still watching today, and that means so much. And having this incredible, initially fan-designed weapon with a rocket on the end just to bring the blade down that much harder and faster. I have never had a greatsword that looks so, well, not just a part of the monster, ranked so highly for me until this moment. But it's just cool, right? How can you look at this and not go, yeah, that's just really cool? Because it is. It's just so cool. The Wyvern Ignition. It feels beautiful to true charge down with that jet engine blaring as you absolutely obliterate monsters. It is phenomenal, and I miss it dearly. I really, really do. So hats off to you, rocket-powered greatsword. You really are a champion among champions. Though not quite as much as my 1st place pick. I'll just say it. Remember that Monster Hunter 1 box art? Well, now it's time for that great sword. The Great Wyvern Jawblade. Right from the start and still to today, it is the best way to slay. It's perfect. To me, this weapon is greatsword, and clearly this weapon is greatsword to Capcom 2, so I suppose it might be the boring choice, but that doesn't take away from its sheer quality. It is quite literally the jaw of a wyvern, his teeth and horn and bone still there preserved, sharpened and given a handle. It's got an incredible shape to it. It feels like a Monster Hunter weapon. It feels like something that you really would see if this setting was in any way kind of real. It feels like the technology of the blacksmiths of the time, and it really is just the weapon when I think of Monster Hunter. Now, this has bounced around between 1, 2, and 3, swapping with the others a lot, but I can't deny that if I ever had to commit to the greatswordiest greatsword, it had to be the Wyvern Jawblade. There's not a single part of it that I dislike. I think it really is just pitch perfect, form perfect. There's nothing I would change, nothing that I would add, nothing that I would take away, and I don't think I can truly say that for anything else on this list. It really is just it. It embodies the brutal simplicity of hit thing with sharpened big stick, and I could unga bunga my way through the roster of monsters with this baby in my hands any day of the week. So there you go, everybody. That is my definitive favorite greatswords for all of Monster Hunter history. Have I missed any that you might have been hopeful to see or expecting to see? Let me know, and let me know what your favorite weapons are too in the weapon that you indeed do favor. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. Please consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a good Bye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.